Who's up for some Yakuza Kiwami? I fucking am. Let's go. I didn't really want to make this video, to be honest with you. I was really looking forward to Kiwami, with it being a Yakuza game and all, my favourite series, but I actually ended up being a bit disappointed with the game. It's a remake of Yakuza 1, the PS2 game, to celebrate 10 glorious years of Yakuza, and as a remake it is really good, but that's part of where the problem lies. You see, Yakuza was a Japanese PS2 game in an era where Japanese games had a reputation for being much harder than Western games, and many of the boss fights and set pieces were unbalanced, unfair, frustrating, and just all around not fun. The Yakuza games have been extremely iterative though. Each game is a big improvement on the last, and returning to bosses from 7 fucking games ago is horrific. Bosses were a huge pain in the arse in the early games. They were a nightmare, but over time they've become fun. Like in the later games, the boss fights, yeah, they're challenging still, but they're fun. This is a return to the early days where the best way forward is to just fill your inventory with 20 health bars worth of healing potions and just tank the shit out of it and just mash your way through. The boss mechanics are so bad that I can't be asked to get good at the game. I'd rather just cheese it, and that is a weird fucking thing for me to be saying about a Yakuza game. And yeah, it is a criticism. You could also level at the original, but that's a 10-year-old PS2 game, so what the fuck do you expect? They should have reworked all these encounters when they reworked everything else, and that's another problem. They've cut and pasted the same 4 fighting styles from Yakuza 0, but since all the boss fights were designed for the PS2, the default fighting style that was on the PS2, the other 3 styles are completely useless on bosses. Like, it is not designed to work together. I mean, there's a couple of instances where you can stun lock spam the boss to death, again because they don't work properly together, but that's another reason why they should have reworked them. In Ishin and Zero also had the multiple fighting styles, but it wasn't a problem because the boss fights were designed from the ground up with all of the styles in mind. Kiwami is such a faithful recreation of Yakuza that it feels like the other 3 styles haven't been taken into account at all. I really should have redone all of the boss fights, at least in my opinion. Another annoyance is the Majima Anywhere system. Majima is a recurring rival throughout the whole series. There's usually a boss fight or 2 against him in each of the games, but in Kiwami it gets taken to a whole nother level. Majima stalks you through the streets like Nemesis from Resident Evil 3. He just pops up as you're walking around and attacks you, so you're constantly having these random boss battles against him, which is cool for a little while, but by the end of the game it's a complete fucking pain in the ass to have to stop what you're doing again for another fucking Majima fight. Other than that though, I know I've been a bit down on it, but other than all that, the game is great. I mean, the story still holds up today. Basically, you play as a Yakuza who took the blame for a murder to protect his friend. 10 years later, he comes out of jail. Friends have become enemies, enemies have become friends, and to top it all off, you're on the verge of a gang war. Someone's stolen $100 million from the Yakuza, and you're caught right in the fucking middle of it all. It also looks fantastic, as all the next-gen Yakuza games have done. Fighting is simple but fun and brutal. We like a bit of brutality, don't we? We like a bit of ultra-violence here and there. The music's pretty good too. I think it's all covers of the original game soundtrack, and overall it just has a very high level of polish and detail. I just think it could have been a lot better if the last gen boss fights were redone from scratch instead of being recreated faithfully, and I also thought it borrowed too much from Yakuza 0. It felt more like a DLC than a standalone game, and Zero is a better game in the first place due to actually being designed around the multiple fighting styles instead of them feeling tacked on. So a bit of a letdown, but still a great game overall. And if you're still watching at this point, I guess you enjoyed the video. Feel free to stick around, there's plenty more coming soon, and there's a bunch already on the channel if you want to go check them out right now. I won't stop you, and I will see you next time.